Hello and welcome to another tutorial about CTM the card game. I'm BSM, I'm the creator of this game, and today we will be looking at the extra mode for the game, which allows one player to play as the boss and turns the game into a one versus team scenario instead of just a straight up team game. In this mode, one player gets to play as the boss and faces against all the other players playing disruption cards to make the game a little bit harder for the players, and then also having some more control over the end game with the boss battle and being able to assemble a range of abilities of their own choice. To begin, we're going to need to do a little bit of extra setup here. There is another deck of cards up here, which includes the additional rules for this game mode, so we can lay all of these out wherever we want on the board for future reference. I'm just going to put them all up here. Right, the next thing that we're going to want to do is get some things out of this extra bag over here. So, here is our boss inventory board. Let's put that over here, and I also suggest locking this in place, because this isn't going to need to be moved around anymore. We also have our boss deck. We'll be using that in a moment. We have a whole range of other decks here. At the time of recording, there's only 2 bosses playable. I plan to put the remaining 3 in as well. Okay, so the next thing we're going to want to do is add these cards to the regular map deck. This deck contains 10 boss action cards and 2 additional chest cards. So we're going to flip that up, turn that around, and stick that on there. This now means when you're adding the objective into this deck, you split this into 4 piles, and each pile is going to be 12. With the objective instead going on top of the 11 large stack here. But otherwise, it is the same as the ordinary game. Okay, next thing we're going to want to do, bring over the boss HP counter, because we're going to need that one. Let's give this a shuffle, and here you would draw the boss that you're going to be playing as. So we're going to be Axial. That's good, because that's the one I wanted to demo. Let's put that there, and let's imagine we're in a 6-player game, so 6 times 80 is a few HPs, some number of HPs. Quick math on the fly. Give me a moment. 480, I believe. Okay, then we can put the remainder of the boss deck back in here. And all of the other boss decks we're not using. We should be left with our 2 decks for the boss that we have picked out. The smaller one goes in this hand-draw slot right there. 20 large goes in the shop draw pile right there. Shuffle both of these. And draw our first 4 cards into the shop. We have a good mix of disruptions and abilities here. This looks good. We're now ready to begin setting up the remainder of the game in the standard way. The vast majority of the gameplay is as standard. There are a couple of exceptions though. Firstly, whenever you flip a card off the map deck and it's a boss action, the boss gains 1 action. I'll explain the 3 different things that the boss can do with said action in a moment. The other difference is that players cannot die outside of the boss battle, so if a player's HP hits 0 and they don't have any totems or leaf bracelets or anything else that would prevent their death, instead set their HP to 10. The boss in question gains 10x HP, so in a 6-player game this would be an additional 60 HP, which would be 540 in this case. And finally, the boss player also gets to take 2 actions. With every action, either gained from a player dying, or from drawing a boss action card off of the map deck, the boss player can do 3 different things. The first and easiest of which is we can select one of the cards in the shop and place it into our hand discard pile. So, say I like the look of this disruption card here. With my action I can take that, flip that over and put that there, and then draw a replacement card from the shop draw pile to replace it. We have a different disruption over here now. The second thing that I could do with my boss action is to reset the shop completely. In that case we will take all 4 of these cards, put them all in the shop discard pile and draw 4 new ones. We have slightly more disruptions this time. The third, final, and the most impactful thing we can do is we can play one of our cards from our hand draw pile. In order to do this, we will draw 3 cards off the top of the deck and choose one to use. Let's use our ability here. Abilities are played into these sit slots up here and only come into play during the final boss battle, where these would replace the normal abilities a boss would have on one of these cards. So when we would roll our purple dice to decide which ability to use, let's plonk this one in slot number 1. So if our dice rolled a 1, we would get to play this ability in our boss fight. The other 2 cards that we did not use will go back in the hand discard pile. Alright. Let us imagine that we have another action. Let's draw 3 more cards. We've run out, so let's shuffle this pile. Move that back up there. And draw our third. Okay. We have a handful of disruptions. Let's choose which one of these we want to use. Unlike abilities, which only come into play at the end, disruptions have some immediate impact on the game. Some of them rely on a condition, such as this one, the next time a spawner is drawn, while some of them take effect immediately, such as this one. Let's use this disruption here. We'll plonk that above the boss infantry and put the 2 unused cards back over here. So now the next time a chest map card is revealed, we draw 1 less item. There's a chest map card. Convenient. Our disruption would come into play here, so it gets put back in the hand discard pile. And in our sits player game, we would therefore only draw 6 pieces of loot rather than the regular 7. The boss battle at the end of the game is the only point in which players can actually die. Most of this board is now irrelevant, and we're using these ability cards that we have up here, that we've drawn and placed into these slots throughout the remainder of the game. Again, the players take the first turn, go around, and deduct from our boss HP down here. Then, as per standard, we will roll this dice to determine which of our abilities gets to be used. Unlike in the regular game, seeing as the boss has actually got a player behind it controlling it, some of the cards allow the player in question to take more of a choice about what they want to do. For example, here, next turn, Exile can freely choose which ability to use instead of rolling the dice. Next time Exile performs a targeted attack, they may choose which players to attack instead of using the regular indicator deck. Got a few different options depending on what we roll. Additionally, if we roll a number and there is no ability in that slot, then absolutely nothing happens and it goes straight back to the player's next turn. So whoever's playing the boss wants to definitely make sure that they have all of these slots filled. If the boss manages to kill all of the players in the final battle, then they have won. Otherwise, if this HP number hits 0, then the players have won.